His podcast?
Yeah, podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is. Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is. Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is. Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is. Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is. Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is. Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is.
I can hear you. I can hear you out there. I hear counting. 1, 2, 3. I don't know what it sounds like, but it sounds like counting because I could hear all of you counting me out. Counting me out. Didn't think I'd come back for yet another week of the best podcast that was ever created, ever invented. The most genius ideas that have ever been put to record. Recorded in the Library of Congress next to all the confidential files that Hillary Clinton emailed or whatever happened. I don't know the details about that story. Not many of us do. And when I say that, I don't say it confidently because I don't know what level of attention you pay, or anybody for that matter. What level of attention you pay to politics, so I'm not going to put words in your mouth. That said, you're now in tune to the motherfucking greatest, and I'm not talking about Dirt Off Your Shoulder, that song by Jay-Z. I'm talking about Wax's Podcast, episode 108. Last time we pulled a one... I was going to say we put a 187, then I realized it was a 107. It's going to be a while before I get to episode 187, which I believe, through my child history of listening to gangster rap music, not because I led any type of gangster life when I was a child, but I believe when I get to episode 187, I will be making a reference to that being what murder means to cops, or whatever the fuck that is. 187 on a motherfucking cop. That means you killed them, for all of you out there. They were wondering what that meant. I know some of you thought it was a secret code that Snoop and Dre had with each other back in the day on the Deep Cover soundtrack. 187 on a motherfucking cop. That's not even, like, what else would that be? A 1, an 8, and a 7? Because it's not a poker hand because there's no such thing as a 1. A 1, an 8, and a 7. It can't be what you rolled with dice, because the highest number on that would be a 6. I guess it could be numbers on your lottery ticket. But if it was numbers on your lottery ticket, what would that have to do with a motherfucking cop? 187 on a motherfucking cop. Maybe that was a phone number. Just dial 187 on a motherfucking cop. And really it was just 187 and then like however many letters of on a motherfucking cop got you to the amount of digits needed to be a phone number. Once again, for the 108th time, I'm rambling, not knowing what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't have to. It's my podcast. I make the rules. I make the podcast rules, and you know what? I don't fucking like rules. I don't fucking like rules. That's like a line from like an 80s movie. A fucking cop. Speaking of 80s movies and cops and somebody who would totally say that, by the way, let me just start by recommending a movie that's on Netflix. The movie's only a half an hour long. I assume it's really popular. I'm assuming some of you guys already know about it, but I just found out about it. My boy Kurt, shout out to Kurt B. He hit me up a couple days ago and he goes, like, this is how he talks. So when you know when people text you, you read their text in their voice. So Kurt's text is like, dude, drop whatever you're doing right now. Whatever it is, drop it. Watch Kung Fury on Netflix. It's a movie, but it's only a half an hour. And if you watch it, you'll understand why it's a half an hour. It's pretty intense it would be intense for them to pull a whole feature-length movie. But you don't really necessarily want to see any more, and you didn't want to see any less. It's perfect. It's perfect in length. Like, that's what she said, or whatever you want to say. Anyway, I'm not going to give you any more details. It's only 30 minutes out of your life. You were going to spend 30 minutes watching some bullshit Anyway, so you might as well watch this bullshit. It's called Kung Fury, and I just want to recommend it to y'all because I've just never seen anything like it. It was fucking awesome. What was that a tangent out of? I don't know, but here I am. I live in Sherman Oaks, California now, 91403. No show has been made with that. It's not 90210. Or as the pho restaurant up the street, 9021 Pho. I was talking shit just now, but I actually really like how pho restaurants. I would say before any restaurant chain, out of all types of restaurants, pho restaurants are the most likely to have a pun in the name. There's 9021 Pho is the one down the street. Me and my boy AK just went to one called Pho Show. And then there's another one that's a chain called Pho King. The king of pho, but you know what? I don't have to tell you. You already got the pun. I'm a fan of puns. I'm a fan of puns, and I'm not just talking about Big Pun the rapper, even though he did do some pun work. I wish that's all he did. If pun didn't even mean Punisher, it just meant he said puns all the time. That was his check 1 2. Be check 1 2, and he'd be holding up his paycheck. Get it for 12. He's holding up his paycheck for $12. Big pun, check 1 2, and you see him holding up a paycheck for $12. Yeah. So I'm here doing a lot of new things. If you guys haven't seen it yet, this morning, I don't know why I talk like that. But this morning, I dropped a new episode of Chain Reaction. For those of you that don't know, maybe you're new to the podcast, I do a web series, which last season, the first season, actually became part of a television series on TV, getting them TV creds. I don't even know if that's officially a TV credit, but I'm going to fucking use it as such. And anyway, I already did season 1. It's a show called Chain Reaction, and the reason it's called Chain Reaction is because I do bullshit food reviews. Well, I mean, it's bullshit, but it's kind of real. I don't know. And it's just on chain restaurants. Recently, I've been focusing mostly on either fast food or that next tier up from fast food, whatever Panda Express is considered, and Panera Bread and Chipotle. That's kind of the next level up from fast food. It's not quite as shitty as McDonald's, but it's not quite as nice as Applebee's. Been focusing on those lower tiers. Next season, season 3, I plan on going one step up. I want the season 3 to be Applebee's, Outback, Chili's, shit like that. Shit like that, man. What am I doing with my life? Is this it? Is this the pinnacle? Is this where it's going? That said, I actually am proud of the show. I'm proud that I spent a long time. I spent a long time doing it. I did 10 episodes. I actually did 11 episodes, but I think one of them I might not put out. And I also might do a couple more. Really, to anybody out there that really does YouTube shit, take Ray William Johnson, for example. I don't know if I actually haven't been keeping up with what he's up to, but he used to be the number one dude on YouTube from doing that show, Equals 3, which was a viral video review show. And the main thing that you got to do to be successful is you got to be consistent. And anybody who listens to this podcast knows that that's not a trait that I have. And my point is that, most people that would do a show like Chain Reaction, they wouldn't be like me and say, oh, we have season 1 and season 2. They just fucking do one every week. They would just fucking do one every week. That said, I do other things. I'm working on an album. I got a show coming up March 10th here in Los Angeles, North Hollywood at the Federal. More details to come. I'm starting my monthly show. Me and my boy T-Rex. Show's going to be at the Federal in North Hollywood. It's called The Federal Offense. First one is on March 10th. It's going to start at like 7:30 or something like that. It's a Thursday night. Early show. It's like the show starts at 7:30. I think the show will really start more like 7:45 or 8, but it'll be done by like 10, and then there's an after party right there. Right after we're done, there's another kind of like event they do every week, which is like DJs, and they play all 90s hip-hop. So how perfect is that? If you got to work the next day, you can be out of there by 10, in bed to kiss your wife at 11, wake up in the morning like, did I even go out last night? I feel so great. I went to bed earlier than I fucking normally do. And with a head full of laughter and cheer. If you don't have to work the next day, show finishes at 10, you're like, you know what? I feel like dancing. I feel like drinking. I feel like partying. I don't even feel like leaving this fucking building. I can just stay right where I am and fulfill all my needs right here at the Federal in North Hollywood, March 10th. So keep your eyes open for that. I don't even know exactly what that would mean since I just fucking told you what it was. But I guess keep your eye open on my Instagram and shit like that. I will be posting a flyer soon with even more details. But I'll be doing a set. I'll be doing songs and maybe a couple jokes. But my portion of the set will mostly be music. Bunch of comedians. And let me tell you something. If the guy that's supposed to be one of the, I guess I would headline the show in a lot of cases, but if this guy comes, he'll be the headliner. We might have a really special guest. But we don't know for exactly sure yet. And you know how it is out here in Hollywood. You can't fucking say somebody's going to be there because the day before they'll fucking cancel because goddamn Seth MacFarlane called. I don't know. Oh, I can't make it. Seth MacFarlane called. He said that him and Rosie O'Donnell want to start a reality show with the Jackass guys, so I couldn't make it. We had to meet down on La Brea and talk over some drinks about how we would pitch it to Fox via the pilot and audition for the agency. Yeah, so all that I just said was said because I wanted to tell you that I put out a new episode of Chain Reaction. It's the first episode of season 2, y'all. Just put it out this morning. It was about Arby's. And Arby's is an interesting restaurant. Arby's specializes in roast beef sandwiches. And if you get a roast beef sandwich there, take away the bread, take away the cheese if you got one with cheese. Because one of the main motherfucker just has roast beef on bullshit-ass bun. And if you just take the time out of your day, your busy day where you couldn't even have time to sit down and eat lunch, so you fucking drove through an Arby's drive-thru and got that sandwich, just take 1 second to really look at that meat. Think in your head. Think in your head what you know to be roast beef. Like when you picture it, it's kind of like a brown, it's almost like if you took like a nice steak and cut it open, but it kind of has like, I don't know how to describe what roast fucking beef looks like, but a really good roast beef sandwich that you'd get at a deli in Manhattan for $16. Picture that. And then open up your Arby's sandwich and look at the roast beef that's actually in there and be like, and just be confused because that shit does not look anything like it. It's the same color as turkey, but even if you served it as turkey, it would look shitty. It looks like it's the color of like recently rained on cement. And it's really, really thin. And if you just eat it by itself and think about what you're eating, you can get pretty grossed out. And I'm like not a vegetarian or anything like that. But that shit, I don't know where they get that shit. That is second-rate meat at best. That's 10th-rate meat, man. That said, I ate like fucking 5 sandwiches in the episode. You should check it out. It's pretty funny, and this one my boy AK shot. The episodes aren't necessarily going to be, they're not going to look consistent because I had 3 different people shooting the show. So It won't be consistent looking as the first one, but it should be still relatively consistent. And the jokes and shit talk are funny in all of them, if I do say so myself. I'm sure you'll get a chuckle or two out of each one, and possibly even learn something about the food. Ever wonder what fucking what Panda Express is like? No? Forget Yelp. Go to YouTube and type in chain reaction. Because that's one of the ones this I don't know which episode is going to be, but I did do an episode about Panda Express, and I did several other restaurants. So yeah, that's how I live my life. That's one of the main things I've been up to recently, in case you were wondering. I actually really am working on a bunch of music. I'm working on stuff for the show. I'm trying to come up with new acoustic songs, working on a bunch of stuff like that. I got some new raps. Working on some stuff on some EOM beats. Just out here trying to create, man. Trying to create. Just going through my little shit that I always go through. Dealing with, trying not to smoke. Haven't had a cigarette in a couple of days. Last week I went like the whole week, and then on the weekend I binge smoked. I don't know, it's tough. It's a tough world we live in, y'all. I don't see, there's this dude I met recently he was like 35. He said he's never drank a sip of alcohol. And I'm not judging him, y'all. Don't take that the wrong way. I'm not judging him like fucking peer pressure cool kid at high school. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying it's interesting that people, we all make different decisions in life, but to not try things once is pretty wild to me, Most things I'm willing to try once. Most things. And then from then on out, shit, I'll even try shit again. Like I've said on this podcast before. Since I was a little child, I've always hated olives. And once every 2 years, I'll fuck around and eat one just to make sure my opinion hasn't changed. I'm not a politician. I can flip-flop. I can say what I want to say when I want to say it and how I want to say it. God damn it. I'm like the Donald Trump of olive opinions. I'll say what I mean, or at least what you think I mean, whatever the fuck. I can't believe Donald Trump is actually in the running to be the president of arguably the most powerful nation in the world. It's just insane. I don't know. I'm sure some of you guys are thinking right now, like, don't talk about politics. And I'm not going to talk about politics. Some of you guys are thinking, international listeners are probably thinking, like, yeah, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? And then there's a couple of y'all thinking, hey, man, I'm going to vote for him. Just think it's kind of crazy, man. This motherfucker said he always talks about building a wall between the U.S. and Mexico. And he said in a not a press conference, I don't know what's considered a press conference, but he was in front of a fucking podium talking to a crowd and people were filming it. And he said that he had heard recently, he's been saying that we're going to build a big ass wall between the U.S. and Mexico's going to pay for it. And he heard that the guy that runs Mexico, I guess that's the president. I don't know. That's how dumb Americans are. It is the president. The Mexico has a president. But the president of Mexico apparently said, nah, we ain't paying for the wall. So Donald Trump goes, yeah, the president of Mexico recently said he's not paying for the wall. I said, you know what? The wall just got 10 feet higher. Like, is this... Like, that's the most, if you really think about how childlike that is, that's because he was offended by your words. Not like, oh, well, I'm a president. I'm going to sit down and fucking talk about it like a political leader of the entire world. Like, That's like if you don't see that that's on some like baby shit, on some Hitler shit, on some egomaniac shit. Like, you don't like what I say, it gets tougher then. It's ridiculous, but funny. And honestly, well, normally in elections, I look at it this way. Normally with elections and politics in general, I look at it this way. You know, they get a Republican gets voted in, a Democrat gets voted in. How drastically does my day-to-day life change? Not much. Not much. But I kind of think this particular election is different. And I mean, like, you know, I just did 8 years of, or 7 years so far, but did 8 years of Bush Jr., 8 years of Obama. And sure, there's, I guess, stuff, you know, different stuff happened. The economy was different. The level of terrorism and shit was different. But like my day-to-day life, the way it affected me, those 8 years versus those 8 years, and I want you to think about it if you've been alive that long and remember all this shit, like, did it really affect your day-to-day life in a real way? Like, really? Like, without any bias, without, like, forget about the shit you saw on TV. Forget about any event that happened that wasn't in your direct, immediate circle. I mean, even if it did, even if you had a relative in 9/11, was that really, like, because of either of their faults? But, I mean, forget that anyway. Like, point being, I think this particular one might actually mean something. Like, I think the difference between Bernie Sanders running the country and Donald Trump running the country could actually, if each of them had 4 years to just fuck around, I think that there might actually be stuff that affects my life. I don't know exactly what that would be yet. Now the more I think about it, the more I think it probably wouldn't, actually, because I'm not going to go fight. If Donald Trump gets us into some dumb war, I'm not going to go fight in it. That said, he might get us into the kind of dumb war where, like, North Korea bombs Los Angeles. Because you got to imagine, maybe not for North Korea, because from what I hear, the leaders over there love Hollywood movies. But if you got a bomb into the hand of the wrong person, maybe, what do they call it, ISIS, they'd probably love to blow up Hollywood, man. I live pretty close to Hollywood. Wouldn't like that to happen. That said, I don't know. Why am I even talking about that? What else is going on, y'all? What else is going on in the world? I don't know. What other headlines did I see on Yahoo News? Yes, I still use Yahoo Mail. I use Gmail too. Speaking of which, beatsforwax@gmail.com. If you want to send an email for the podcast, that's beatsforwax@gmail.com. For my day-to-day, I still use Yahoo. I don't know why. People ask me why I still use Yahoo and make fun of me. And to me, it's kind of like, well, why do I still have the same phone number? Why don't I change that? Like the updating my shit to Gmail, which, by the way, Gmail isn't fucking perfect. Updating my shit to them, A, it's another step in my life, and B, people know my Yahoo address. I know that I can get it forwarded or some shit like that. That was to address you in your cubicle or wherever you're listening to this, saying, well, why don't I get it forwarded? Oh, you know what? I know that I can do that, but I don't feel like doing that. If you want to talk to me, you're going to have to talk to me through Yahoo. But you definitely can't talk to me through Yahoo Messenger. I never understood how to use that. I think that shit is fucked up. I've been getting better at checking my messages on Facebook. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but I've actually been checking those every once in a while now. Being that I just fucking said that and I'm talking about that, let's just go to questions and fucking shout outs. All right, y'all. I'm back, and I'm about to do the questions and shout-outs. And before I get into that, I got a really interesting... I actually answered all the emails like a week ago for this podcast, exactly a week ago. Exactly a week ago, I was planning to do a podcast last week, and something happened. I don't know what. And I just never got around to it. But I answered emails last week, and you know what I did? I got completely caught up on the emails. So unless you've emailed me in the last week, I've answered every fucking email I got. So that being said, if you're still a podcast listener, if you're still listening to Wax's podcast, email me at beatsforwax@gmail.com, and I'll most likely get to your question or shout out on the next podcast. I'm pretty well caught up. So, yeah. Let me know what you want me to fucking rant about. Let me know if you need some advice. Let me know if you want me to recommend any kind of art products, whether it's movies or documentaries. Like, I know those are kind of similar. TV shows, music, painting exhibits, ceramics, slideshows. If you know about the latest knitting exhibition series, portrait, maybe you have the inside scoop on the latest anime convention podcast subscription service, or maybe you simply have a local florist that's very timely, or possibly none of those affect you, but you do happen to have a gift certificate to Old Navy that you're trying to sell for half the amount that it's worth. Do you want $50 worth of Old Navy clothes for $25? Contact Jeff the Ref, because that's how we do. Thank you, Nate the Plate, who, by the way, my first shout out of the day is Nate the Plate from Michigan. You know, Nate the Plate, you never actually, you said one time you're going to email how you got the name Nate the Plate. I don't know what would make somebody call a human being a plate. I also don't know if that means the type of plate that you eat off of. Maybe it's a metal, maybe you have a metal plate in your body. Maybe it's a plate reverb. That's a type of reverb. What other things are plate? Maybe you have a maybe you were in an earthquake and got shifted around with the tectonic plates, and I don't know. There's a bunch of other definitions for plates. What other? There's a couple more, but for some reason, as soon as I said there's a bunch more, I couldn't think any more. But shout out to you, a real trendsetter here on Wax's podcast. You know, before Nate the Plate ever sent an email, people didn't feel like they should make their names rhyme with a word. But since he did, many people have. Shout out also to Anthony L. Shout out to David M. Jr. That's M as in Mill Branch. M as in Moroscope. M as in Mistifer. M as in M as in Moperi. M as in I just ate a banana. M as in Maple. Man, I'm really just going crazy over here. Cliffy. We got Cliffy. Anthony M., who recommends Revolutionary Rhythm. That is a group. I mentioned them in a previous podcast and wrongly assumed that they were a reggae band. They are a hip-hop duo, and I checked them out based on Anthony M. saying, yo, dude, they're not a reggae band. Not saying that, I should have checked them out even if they are a reggae band. I like reggae music. What's wrong with me? But I checked them out, and they're actually dope. So check out Revolutionary Rhythm. Shout out to Noah R. Big shout out to Sophie C. Shout out to EJP. Huge shout out to Mike T, the student. If you remember, Mike T used to email the podcast as Mike T, the security guard, an Englishman. He used to work mad crazy, like 20-hour days as a security guard. Then recently I started to notice that Mike T would email me as Mike T, the ex-security guard. So I I can't remember what he emailed me about, but I hit him with sort of a PS. I was like, so, Mike T, what's the deal with the X? What happened to your position as a security guard? And he's now a student. Not only is Mike T a student, but he's happy about it. And that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters is happiness, right? Me and my brother want to have a character in a we want to write something like a show or a movie. We want to have a few characters that are like 40-something-year-old women that are just hopped up on Prozac and various antidepressants. They just walk around with fake smiles, talk about how happy they are. But I'm not going to get into that because it would, we have to develop the characters further. But they'd be drinking mad wine, talking about how it's all worth it, right? Though it's all worth it, huh? Yeah. I mean, I love my family. I mean, I do have dreams, I do have dreams, that my husband and my daughter they die in a car accident, but it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. I would never want that to happen. I mean, it's all worth it. I'm happy. Sometimes every once in a while during that time, I drink probably a couple more glasses of Chardonnay than I should, but it's all worth it, right? I'm happy. Completely happy. Just love my life. Where was I at? We got Carnal. Gene B. Gene B. Sounds like a rap name, Gene B. Yo, what's up, man? Gene B. I drink green tea. What? All right, shout out to Jackie Sweetleaf. My name is Gene B. You might catch me fucking around drinking green tea. We got Mike from Long Branch, New Jersey. We got Ben K. We got Jake M. M is in microscope. We got Tara M. M is in Mitchellville. M is in moratorium. M is in formaldehyde. And last but most certainly not least, we got Carl. And like I said, I'm completely caught up on the emails right now. Well, not completely. Since a week ago when I did the emails, I actually got all of them done. That's a podcast first. And I don't know if that says that I was doing a good job or if it says that people don't email me as much anymore. But that was a podcast first. So send me some emails so I have some shit to talk about next time and some shout outs to give next time. All right. We got B from L.A. B from L.A. I got two things from B from L.A. First of all, she recommends How to Change the World on Netflix. A couple of guys drop acid and decide they want to save whales from being massacred in the oceans. I really dig it, says B from L.A. I remember reading this and saying, like, damn, I want to watch that. And then I didn't. I watched Kung Fury instead. But How to Change the World. Dudes drop acid and decide to save whales. You never know, man. Whenever I did hallucinogenic drugs, I never got that like the universe tells me what to do with my life thing. I've known many people that had that happen to them. They ate mushrooms or acid, and whatever that force is that's in that trippy world. A lot of people that I know have said it's given them messages about what they should do with their lives, and some people it changed their life and they followed it religiously. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, some people follow things religiously that don't feel as crazy as that. I never read the Bible and saw. It's funny though. I do remember. I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but I do remember. I did LSD when I was younger, and my mom listens to this podcast, but whatever. I did LSD when I was younger, and I remember that this particular time, me and my brother lived in the same room growing up, and we had a collage of posters on our wall. Just tons and tons of posters, classic kid shit, all the bands you like, and like pictures of people skateboarding, and then there's like a couple hot chick pictures up there. But I remember this particular time, it was very visual. And I remember all of the, I'll never forget this. All the posters on my wall were converging and they're moving together, and it was just forming this enormous mural of the Virgin Mary on my wall. And the Virgin Mary was, like moving around. That's what's cool about that shit. It wasn't just a picture. She's moving around. It's like a animation almost. And so for me to say that, maybe that was Jesus. Maybe LSD has a little Jesus in it, and he was like, "Listen, dude, this is my mom, dog. Like this is my mom, man. She had me, man. She ain't never even had sex before, dog. What do I got to do to convince you of this, man? I put you. She's on the wall right here. But in reality, it's probably somewhere in the back of my mind. Since I was raised Catholic, I saw the Virgin Mary all the time, and it just had this iconic kind of image in my mind, and that's probably what made the drugs, plus somewhere in the back of my mind that drug pulls from, probably pulled out that image. I don't know. But, maybe Jesus did that shit. I don't know. B from LA also says, in reference to episode 105, look up Ezekiel 4:12. The Bible endorses, a lot of biblical shit today. The Bible endorses human shit, using human shit as charcoal. Holy shit cakes. B from LA with two emails today. Now, I didn't know about that. I did briefly look it up, and it turns out, yeah, the Bible mentioned using human shit as charcoal. So whoever, the innovators supposedly at this time, fucking Tim McDaniels that used to work at Apple or whoever you are, that shit been done. Ezekiel, fam. Ezekiel done that shit, man. Ezekiel. Or as he was known by the ladies, Freakio. I need to shut the fuck up. Okay, we got Max T. Max T says, "Hey Wax, not really a podcast male per se, but I just saw Anderson .Paak in Stockholm where live. This mail has two purposes. One, if you could forward to him that next to your and Watsky's show, this is the one of the best live performances I've ever seen. Second, I would like to recommend the European listeners that they A, catch an Anderson .Paak show while he's in Europe, or B, buy his album ASAP. Also, get back on that YouTube shit, son." This is from Max T. Max T is from Stockholm. And yeah, man, I'm jealous, man. Not only do I wish I was over there, I got to fucking get back over to Europe, but I wish I could see that show, man. That dude's Anderson .Paak, man. That dude is my friend, and I'm a huge fan. His album truly is amazing, man. If you haven't heard any, whether it's Malibu or Venice or even his older shit, you got to listen to all that shit, man. It's amazing. I second that. You need to go out and watch him play, and it's really I was talking to another friend of mine the other day about just the success that he's having is really trying to. Speaking of me stepping my YouTube shit back up, I seen that dude become who he is now. He's blowing up, and it's crazy. He's just so big and well respected, especially musicians that you love are tweeting about his shit. You know what I mean? And I just remember when I first met him, who he was, and I saw this change, and I saw this I just witnessed a human being. Granted, he's one of probably the most talented musician I've ever met, but I just witnessed a human being change from one thing into another, and it was just a combination of just mental, spiritual, physical dedication, and to see that shit firsthand, and where he was and where he is now, and just knowing him and his attitude and shit, it's been a real inspiration, man. And I wish it was even more of an inspiration so I could just fucking be less, just get more shit done. But I have been doing shit, so yeah, I second that, man. That dude's inspirational as fuck to me, and you definitely got to see him live because he's a beast. We got Alex A, aka Arab Spring. Hey Wax. Before I get to my questions, I wanted to let you know that your shit. Thanks, man. I got some praise here. Fuck it. I'll read the praise today. Just wanted to let you know that your shit's great, and I hope that 2016 is an eventful and productive year for you. I hope so too, man. It's definitely going to be eventful if I keep doing this. If this first show that I'm doing on March 10th has any level of success, they're going to just let us do it monthly, and just that alone is. I'm really trying to just fucking get my like solo performance chops up and just fucking, because I've been doing this shit for a long time, man, and I think that I can really put together some shit. So I'm just trying to get this shit, step my shit up. Okay, I hope. Boom, 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 boom. Anyways, my questions for you are: I write raps for fun with my friends. Some I think are okay, but I've always had difficulty with freestyling. I've never really been able to string even a few good lines off the top. I was wondering if you had any advice on how to improve in freestyling. On to my well, why don't I just address the first question before we get to the second one. Freestyling, it's very simple. It's very simple. The art of freestyling is, well, you know, first you have, obviously first you have to have some level of musical talent. You have to have rhythm, and you have to be experienced with like just what rapping and rhyming and shit like that is. But I'll put it this way. A good analogy is this. Being good at freestyling is like being good at playing the drums. Like, you can have talent, you can have natural rhythm, but the only way to get better is just to do it, just to fucking play. And it's the same thing with freestyling. The people that you know that are really good at freestyling is because they do it a lot. And I would recommend, especially if you're young, you say, oh yeah, you say you're 19. That's like the prime age for freestyling, when like a lot of your life is mostly about kicking it, hanging out, being with your crew. You know what I mean? Like, find a couple other people that like to freestyle too, because the only reason, I was better at freestyling at 19 probably than I am now, because now, you know, once you become an adult, life throws all this shit at you, and you have sometimes less time to really vibe like that. But when I was a kid, man, and especially in my town where we didn't really have shit to do, I remember me and my brother, my boy Wit, and a bunch of other people that I knew. Even people that didn't. I think me and my brother got people into freestyling that would have never been into freestyling if they didn't know us. I think that that's a fact of looking back in my childhood. But point is, it's really just about doing it. It's just about doing it a lot. You're going to suck. And what's great about freestyling with your friends is it doesn't really matter if you suck. Just have fun with it. And don't think about it as something that you're trying to get good at. You know what I mean? Just, try to improve, try to get better. And after a while, you like develop like, it's just like playing drums where you might get stuck on one kind of fill that you do. You might play the same thing all the time. If you're just fucking around on drums, you might do the same kind of fills, the same kind of blah. You know, you run around, you have the same freestyle, and you have the same kind of like, if you watch somebody freestyle, they have like these go-to phrases that they'll say. Very common one is, I don't give a fuck. My name is Mike, and I ride a bike. I don't give a fuck, I do to buy the bike. Because I don't give a fuck, I do to buy the bike. Motherfucker is another one. Motherfucker, 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 you. I'm a motherfucker with a motherfucking stew. You know what I mean? And then you'll eventually like have words that rhyme with each other. Like every time I freestyle, for some reason, like when I say it, like when I stumble and I say something that doesn't mean anything, I always say, that don't make no sense. And then I always follow it up with, but I still keep it hot like broken air conditioning vents. I don't know, like I say that in almost every freestyle. It's just like a crutch that I go to. And you develop shit like that. And it's funny because some people see some shit like that and they think you thought that on the spot or whatever it is, you know? And you did think of it on the spot, but, you know, when people freestyle, they're saying shit that they've said before. You know what I mean? Like, Dumbfounded, for example, like if you see him rap, you see him say he's from Koreatown and he's the type of motherfucker that you don't want to be around. Trust me that he's many, many times in his life said that. He probably has a million words that rhyme with Koreatown. But long story short, well, long story already long. My advice for how to improve in freestyling. more so than any other, more so than anything that I do, anything that I know how to do. It's just experience. Like, you're not going to like take I mean, I guess you could. I guess somebody could teach you. I guess you could take a class or something like that. But like, you can't really, you don't get lessons in freestyling. You don't read a book about freestyling. You just do it. That's all you can do is just fucking do it a lot. On to my second question. I'm in second year university up here in Canada. And since I've turned 19, I've recently took up smoking. As bad as a habit as it is, I couldn't really contain myself when I turned 19 and went out partying. And in my drunken stupor, I picked up a pack of smokes. One a day turned to two a day, and I kept spiraling downhill. I eventually managed to quit cold turkey, but I've recently had cravings again. I know you yourself haven't quit completely, but I was wondering if you have some advice on how to quit for good. I'll tell you right off the bat, get advice from somebody else, man, because that shit is hard as shit for me. And I will say this. If you're really serious about quitting smoking, don't drink for a while, because when you drink, A, the tastes go hand in hand, and B, when you start drinking, your judgment is like, well, whatever. You don't give a fuck. So you smoke. Yeah, I'm not the right person to ask about that, man. I will say that if you're 19 now and you started smoking at 19, I know that every fucking adult says this. Everybody says the same shit to you, and it's much easier said than done, because when you're 19, you've been smoking less than a year. Cancer and whatnot is not a reality. Because the fact is that if you smoked for a few years and then stopped, it probably is not going to do something long term. It's probably not going to give you lung cancer if you smoke for 2 years. So in your 19-year-old head, you're probably thinking, well, I'm just going to smoke while I'm young. And you know what? That works for some people. But for me, it did not. And I wish that I would have stopped smoking that same year or whatever. Because the fact is, the unfortunate thing about drugs in general, smoking being one of them, is once you've experienced the joy of it, you can't unexperience that. And like if I've never done heroin before, and if I did, well, that's different. But I was gonna say if I did heroin right now, it'd be gross. But that's not true, because I think the first time you do heroin, you actually do really like it. But that's scary to me. But the point is, when somebody takes their first ever drag of a cigarette, it's not pleasant. You fucking choke. People that don't smoke think the shit is gross, and once you smoke for a year, you kind of never think that again. You can always understand at least what's good about it, and you'll always be like, if you took a drag of it, you could enjoy it. And I might just be speaking for myself, but that's the way I see it. And I think that if you can quit now, you should. Alex A, a.k.a. Arab Spring. All right. I hope that helped you in any kind of way, shape, or form. We got Clifford from San Francisco. I love San Francisco, man. That's a great city. Now it's on par with New York. I think they're pretty much tied in level of expensiveness. But goddamn, San Francisco is a great city. I know a lot of people from San Francisco, and some of them like native San Franciscans. One of them being Watsky. Watsky's a native San Franciscan, but a lot of cats is it San Franciscan? Is that what it is? Siskiite? I'm San Francisquese. I think it's San Franciscan. Pretty sure you're a San Franciscan. That sounds right? But a lot of people that have been born and raised there, especially people that are over 20, 25 or whatever, have noticed big changes since all these tech companies are there. Rent is 5 times more expensive. Getting a drink at a bar is 3 times more expensive. And getting laid is 10 times as hard. Am I right? It's becoming this really, really expensive place to live. But I still think it's a cool place. What do I know? I'm not some kind of real estate critic. I'm not a fucking I'm not a fucking person who blogs about neighborhood life. I'm not a gentrification expert. I don't know anything. I live here in my house. My neighborhood is like, it's not gentrified, but it's not, I don't think that my neighborhood ever was bad or good. It's always been average. But like it's right next to some really nice shit and right next to some all right shit. But I really like my neighborhood. I know it's safe. I said on a previous podcast, I know it's safe because at Christmas time there was a fucking group of college kids. I think they were like all white kids. They were all like college aged kids, and I'm pretty sure they were all white. And they fucking knocked on the door, like 15 of them, and they were Christmas caroling. They were caroling. So I saw that. I was like, oh, this is a safe neighborhood. Jesus Christ. But yeah. That's where I'm at right now this week. This might be a relatively short podcast. It's only 50 minutes. But you know what? 50 minutes is pretty long for me to just sit here and fucking yap. You know what I mean? Most people would consider that a long time. So if you're still listening to this podcast, I appreciate it. I appreciate you listening. Send me an email. Tell me about something you want me to talk about. Are you getting sick of me just fucking yapping? Do you want me to change the format? Let me know. You want me to do something different? You want me to strive more forcefully to get guests? Should I have guests on my podcast? Should I do interviews? Should I have guests and we do a round table discussion a la whatever that show is? What is it? Larry Wilmore? We'll give us a topic and we'll do a roundhouse discussion. What do you think, Jim? I think it's great. What do you think, Bob? I think it's terrible. It's ruining the country. Make on purpose get like two people that disagree on something. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me the format of what the podcast should be. Until then, I'm going to keep it doing what it's doing. Be safe out there.